You may be impressed that both of us are standing up. People in Twitch chat frequently are for some reason. But I will let you know, Cubby, in between those games, sat down for exactly 20 seconds.
I did not realize they're just going to get exposed like this as we hop back into the stream, TJ.
I'm a journalist. The only thing I can do is tell the truth.
Yeah, now,
speaking of
is like the next step to like reverse that? Do I have to like get like one of those like treadmills and like cast this game like walking to apologize? Is that the move?
Oh, I thought it was going to be, do I have to reverse that and one of us tells the truth and the other one tells only lies? I thought we were going a great direction for this broadcast.
A little
but
too
sure,
chaotic.
treadmills as well.
All right.
Producer Pine is telling us to move on. Here's the replay package from that last game. Tell us some truths, Cubby.
Yeah, the truth was that early game from Wildcard was just too much for Resolve to deal with. And a shout out to Brandini as well, who that last pick, Gwen, into the Ornn, having the free lane. Brandini did a lot of work on that Gwen, pushing that pick to 4-0 throughout the last few tournaments that he's played in here in Proving Grounds. He was the big difference maker, and Resolve just, it wasn't enough for Resolve. They didn't have any footing in the early game, and they weren't able to find footing in the team fights despite their best efforts to punish some flashes being down.
Yeah, and it was really hard, I think, to just put yourselves in Resolve's shoes. You spend that entire game going, okay, we can't take this fight. We scale, we have late game, we can't take this fight. And then this kind of stuff happens in the mid game where you guys are supposed to be taking fights, and the only fights they got were ones where Wildcard found a pick, where Wildcard had triggered an advantage, and Resolve could not take the fights because if you disengage, lose one player there, you're missing your window. So you have to full send into these disadvantaged fights that Wildcard have intentionally engineered to completely diffuse your win condition.
And I really like how Wildcard played this out, going up against a team fighting comp where you have a winning early game and winning sides, because they were shoving out their sides very well and then using that to make sure that whenever a fight was taken, even when it was even footing or even trades, they were either getting points or Resolve was losing waves because they just don't have priority. And that enabled them to TP, find the angles, and defeat what's a beautiful front-to-back team fighting composition from Resolve that just didn't have a leg to stand on early, so it fell apart.
Yep. Excellent stuff. Very, very well played by Wildcard. We kind of set the stage. We did get kind of the story of the game right, but I think we got the tempo of the game wrong because we expected Winston to get out into lane early, Arrow to be bullying those sidelines and just shattering them. And Wildcard didn't really do that. It was more of a kind of slow and steady strangulation of Resolve over the course of that game by Wildcard, as they just very carefully didn't take any fights that would let Resolve into the game.
And I think credit to Wildcard, as they are a team that we said coming into this, they are the top amateur team, they're the 7th seed, but they're a team that a lot of people expect the top 4 in this tournament. Expecting an amateur team to top 4 in a tournament with 9 academy teams in it. We said that for a reason, and it's because they play so well. One of the reasons, or one of the ways they play so well, though, is playing out their win cons. And when you have Gwen, you have Aurelia, you're going up against a team that very clearly wants to team fight front to back. Their ability to identify that, their ability to identify the plays that they can take, and the way they play around that strangulation, all that gold that gets funneled to them off screen is just good play from the 5 people that they have, and they continue their redemption arc as Wildcard Red continues to prove that they are a dominant force in this tournament.
Continues to prove that they deserve, as well as many of these other Proving Grounds teams deserve chances back in Academy, back in the LCS for many of these players, and for many of them for the first time. Let's talk about the composition, the draft that Wildcard faced during game number 1. Do you think, as you said during that replay package, Resolve drafted a really good front-to-back team fighting composition? Do you think they need to make changes?
They need one proactive spot on the map, and I want to see that be in the hands of either Fnatic or APA, as they're the 2 playmakers, they're the 2 dictators that make sure that Resolve isn't getting blown out early, or are able to have a leg to stand on and to go into that 15-minute mark on more even ground where they usually are taking team fighting tools and abilities to try and outscale their opponents. And we're going to have to see that swap, and I'm curious to see what ends up happening, because it looks like we have a side swap here with Wildcard now, or Resolve, I should say, now opting for the red side. This does give them first pick, and keep in mind that first pick of Aphelios was a big deny away from Arrow. So Wildcard, theoretically now, they have 3 bans in the first pick, right? They could take something else away from Resolve, but being on red side does guarantee that Resolve gets counterpicked at least somewhere.
Yeah, it was Resolve who did select that, so there you go. And I think that changes the bans a little bit. You were talking you wanted some more proactivity in the side lanes, maybe in APA's hands. Are you looking for, like, a Twisted Fate in APA's hands? Are you looking for something with Engage like that?
I don't think Wildcard is going to let APA play Twisted Fate.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think it's too good for just the way that Resolve plays. I think that him having a lane that he feels like he can either get out of or win or keep Bradley down, I think is a big key. Or, you know, Fnatic as well, right? If he has something like the Lee Sin, he's proven that he can make plays off that. I like the Trundle from him, but Winston, Daption, the Rakan, the Lee Sin into something like Trundle and Braum, yeah, it's a lot of CC, yeah, it's a lot of control, but that takes time. And if you aren't landing those interrupts on pillars, which are not easy to do against those champions, we saw what Daption and Winston were able to do as the playmakers in that game. So I just want to see Resolve take a little bit more of a stand early. And if they still want to opt for that late game, we saw the covers, the roams, they play that well. They're able to lose gracefully. You just can't take 3 losing lanes and a losing jungler into a team like Wildcard.
Can I offer you an alternative? Because you've been talking about the middle of the map. What if you give PCL something like a Renekton or a Gwen that he's played earlier in this tournament? Does that give you the traction that you're looking for?
Potentially, but that's like the way that Resolve has been finding success is by pretty much ignoring PCL on the map, right? They're just gonna let him play whatever champ he wants, say, all right, buddy, like, you're on your own, get the resources you can, we're gonna go from there. And they can switch it up, but the way they switch it up is by giving APA Twisted Fate, then they get PCL something like his Camille, which he's very good at, and then they attack the lane, make sure that Camille gets going, and PCL can carry the game. So that is an option, but like I said, I think no Twisted Fate for Resolve. They're too good at the champion. It's really good against Bradley's champion pool as he likes to play those melee carries. It's really where he indexes into and where Bradley becomes that special player we've been hyping up. As diving into the second pick, I'm going to have to see what kind of changes we see out of Resolve as they try and stay in the series.
Did talk about getting more proactive lanes. One of the ways that you can do this, as you mentioned, is because Resolve have selected red side. Once Wildcard lock in that first pick, Resolve will have, at least once during the draft, a chance to respond specifically to that pick, to counter pick. And for that reason, this time round, Wildcard are banning out the A-Soul.
But Twisted Fate's up. And that Aphelios ban,
pick?
I'm really curious if Wildcard actually first picked this. It is something that Bradley can play. But Resolve, they will 1-2 Twisted Fate Lee Sin. So Wildcard, they wanted to deny that. The same diagnosis that we have, that Resolve's too good as a team playing around Twisted Fate. And on red side, it opens up a lot of strategies where you get the counter pick top with a TF. It's tough to play against. So they're going to take it for themselves. And Wildcard, once again, are going to be the ones that are going to be trying to play around these side lanes. Going to have to see how Resolve breaks this.
Resolve still looking at that Lee Sin, obviously a very important takeaway from Winston and something that gives them a little bit more early game from Fnatic, so we're going to get that. And then, are we looking at a return to that late game? Do we see like an Aphelios lock in here so that Resolve can get their scaling picks? Obviously Aphelios is banned out, but something along those lines.
We've seen Array have a lot of success on Tristana. This pick, though, is actually one that's very special for Resolve, and I'm glad we see it here at TGA, because Ziggs is a flex pick. That's not the way it is for most teams, but it's actually APA's most played pick mid. So the fact they have Lee Sin and Ziggs is very good into Twisted Fate. This means that Array has the option to take that for himself, or the option to counter whatever Arrow wants to show in the bot lane, as and I have to see if they want to take a response to that Renekton before we eat more bans. It could easily be another game of Ornn, or okay, we're going to get more aggressive.
I like this from Resolve, stepping up and getting some options in multiple lanes, as you have the Jace versus the Renekton, and this Ziggs that is going to be able to just wave clear, shove in against the Twisted Fate, which provides a indirect counter to what the Twisted Fate wants to do, which is leave lane, which is have more agency on the map.
Right.
And this is also, Resolve, the first time, I think, for PCL, they are not giving him Ornn in this tournament, right? They're answering fire with fire. They want the Jace.
Unshackled!
Yeah.
He's free!
And that's a matchup that in isolation it does win, but going up against the Xin Zhao, going up against especially that Twisted Fate mid, really want to see how Resolve are able to play around those TF timers and if they can dodge out on those ganks.
I'm so happy for PCL. Not having to play Ornn for the first time.
You don't
Finally
love playing
allowed...
Ornn every game?
Well, it's just that when I push buttons, I like when things change on my screen, and Ornn has a single button that does that, so it's nice, you know?
Yeah. Well, PCL's been freed, as now a couple champions unfortunately seeing the gray screen, as it looks like a couple counters to a Varus coming out. Varus could be very good here for Resolve if Array wants to go for him, as poke with Jace, keep Twisted Fate at range. Might
and
be
the
option
Ziggs.
here.
You have so much poke factoring in the Ziggs.
Yeah. So I think that we're going to see either the mid or the bot pick here for Resolve, and then we're going to let Winter counter the last one. I think notably as well, Daption, that's a ban away on the Rakan. It's actually a pretty big ban coming out, as Daption has 3 plays of Rakan and has played that champion wonderfully throughout this tournament. So he's going to have to show something new as well, as that Varus is indeed locked in. Now I expect to see something like an Ashe, something like a Jinx from Arrow. His champion pool has actually been narrowed down quite a bit, as his 3 most played are Aphelios, Varus, Kalista. After that, his next most played is Draven. Sivir would be an interesting option that he could have here as well, but I have to see something new out of Arrow.
I'm looking for a Draven Leona. That's my dream here, because Daption does play a fair amount of Leona.
Draven.
There it is. And if we get Draven Leona, they're going to just try and bully this Varus in lane, get on top of him early. And I love that image. I love that idea of this game. We may go for a Braum just because of the amount of poke here. That, of course, also makes sense. But I want to go big. Yeah!
Going big, TJ. As Wildcard. Yeah, you can see Array's already swapped the cleanse. He's like, I'm not messing with this. But does give Arrow a little bit more power in that laning phase. And this, I would expect to be a Braum out of Winter. It's a solid champion for him. He can catch gold cards with that. And also can mitigate some of the damage coming out of Draven. Plays well under the melees that Wildcard has. They now have 3. And I think this is a draft for Resolve that it's much better for them in the early game. They actually have a leg to stand on, which is what we were really asking for them early. They have proactivity for Fnatic and that Lee Sin. APAs on a matchup that he really likes with that Ziggs mid. And Varus Jace poke can be rather oppressive if Wildcard Red do fall behind. Those first few ports don't work out for him.
Yeah, I think I really like this Resolve draft. I also like this Wildcard draft. I think we've left with much more chaotic win conditions for both teams. Resolve still want to just stylistically last till the late game, but they have options during mid and early. And that excites me a lot, because Wildcard are going to have to play very proactively, respond to what Resolve are doing during the mid-game to execute their own win condition around that Twisted Fate, around those side lanes, boosting Arrow on that Draven up.
And if you are Wildcard, you have a Twisted Fate plus a Xin Zhao, and then 2 sides that want to play aggressive early. So Bradley has options about where he wants to port. And I think it's going to dictate a lot of the early game to see if he's able to successfully execute those, or if Resolve can counter.
Yeah, I'm genuinely excited for game number 2. Game number 1, I was kind of lying to you. I was saying I was excited, but I knew it was going to be 20 minutes of slow gameplay either way. Game number 2, I'm pumped, Cubby.
You got the honest TJ here for game number 2.
I don't tell lies anymore. I told lies previously. Only truth from here on out. Welcome to game.
Love how you see some KT Rollster icons being flashed here by Wildcard. I was actually told by Coach Morgan. Those are all the logos and emotes that Wildcard has, as they want to make sure that Arrow keeps on being that happy B player. Keeps on moving on up. Is that a new Draven skin? We got Sentinels here.
Ooh.
Arrow. Looking sharp on the Rift.
I think that's the metal skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
The B loves it too.
Well, the bee loves everything. The bee is not a very good judge of character.
What if it's the sad bee?
You could do you could do anything in front of that bee and it would still be happy.
For those of you that don't know, Arrow's solo queue account is actually Happy Bee Player. He loves the bee modes. Something he talked about very enthusiastically when we talked to him on the Proving Grounds pod. And Arrow, someone that, a former LCK champion, a former LCS MVP. We talked about redemption for Wildcard. He wants to make it back into the LCS, and man, is he playing so good in these tournaments. Definitely him and the rest of his team trying to make a claim. And this game as well, something we can talk about later, the scouting grounds ramifications of this. Winner of this most likely does have their team 10 scouting grounds with how things are winding up. With the top 2 amateur teams do end up going there. So would be big for Wildcard to get a lot of their talented players in scouting grounds.
One of the great things about Proving Grounds is that, you know, in the olden days, in the 50s, I imagine, how people applied for jobs where you just, like, walk into a building and be like, here's my resume, I apply. That's basically what Scouting Grounds, or Proving Grounds, is. Because you walk up to these academy rosters, and you hand them their best gameplay, and you see what happens. And Arrow's been able to do that here.
And if Arrow had to pick a champion to demonstrate for that, it'd probably be Draven. And it is a champion that he has really been known for throughout his career. Pretty fun that we get to see it here on the Proving Ground stage as Arrow Daption trying to make this one a 2-0. And you can see how cautious Array and Winter have to play early in this lane, knowing the power of Draven and trying to pay as much respect to that as possible. As Fnatic also understanding that as well, pathing away from this bot lane, realizing that he's going to have access to top crab. Should be a traded crabs early instead of a double crab or Wildcard that we saw last.
So let's slow down and just talk about the map overall. You said you wanted to see a little more aggression out of Resolve. Where does that come from with this draft? Have they fulfilled your requirements?
Right now, it's in the top lane. As you can see, PCL 3-wave crash into Brandini. No dive going to be able to set up, though, because we have very heavy trading in the mid lane. And Fnatic is here first. Might look for something.
Oh, lands it. Gold card's ready, though. Bradley dares him. Fnatic goes in. Gold card. Fnatic flash to chase. First blood. And he lives. No, he's gone.
No more 20 minutes, though, early games, TJ. We're taking one for ones, as APA says these minions are dying to the turret. You're losing XP. That's still a dub for me. Fnatic does lose that double buff. Is going to lose a lot of tempo on the Rift as well, as this might actually be a double crab now for Wildcard. The fact that Fnatic does have to get back out here. And APA was not able to TP back, but Resolve showing that this is a new game, a different team comp, and they aren't showing any fear early.
I love that. Find me a player who will flash behind a turret. I'm just having a great day. Wildcards say, we're going to bully that. We're going to take advantage of that cooldown. And they're pushing in against Fnatic. Winston Daption shoving him into the high school gym lockers.
Rather graphic there.
Yeah.
We have some players in this tournament in high school, TJ. That might be a traumatic experience.
It was so graphic. Well, first of all, every single player playing in this tournament is far too cool to have that kind of experience. Okay. I've met some of them, like, just emanating great vibes.
So this play, this dive might have a lot of ramifications for the top lane as Brandini has bounced this wave back. Daption's up here trying to make the play happen, and Resolve are now forced to respond as, oh boy, Fnatic.
Wants some revenge. He's still level 3, though, so...
Save the Krugs.
Yeah!
That's what it's all for, baby. The step up, down smash. Oh, we get the cinematic view.
Like this. Watch this man make the biggest mistake of his life in 4K.
Hey, you know what? It was a risky play, but we won for it. He knew that Bradley was going to go down. Gets the TP out of Twisted Fate early.
Oh dear. And I thought he was scuffering. He was like a pixel away from getting out.
It was close. I will say the post play for Wildcard Red after that was very favorable for them. The fact that they were able to bully Fnatic off of those chickens, get the double crab. Arrow didn't lose anything for the roams that Daption made there as well. So Wildcard Red responding nicely to the fact that Bradley did go down, did trade. But now we're going to have to see if PCL and Resolve can pick it back up as Twisted Fate, he's not going for the boots rush early. Doesn't have sums, and potentially might be an area that Resolve can try and attack and rinse and repeat yet again.
So, leaving that early aggression kind of gone awry, we can take a look at where that gold is, where the emphasis shifted for Wildcard. And they did actually a really good job of shutting down what were the early game threats. That focus from those fights went onto Fnatic, went onto PCL, who now do not have the tools to really contest in the early game. Look at this CS difference between Fnatic and Winston, and then lock yourself in a dark room and cry a little bit.
Especially against Twisted Fate as well. Really tough for Lee Sin to make plays. Has to deal with that gold card. I think something we saw Winston do very successfully last game on the Lee Sin was pull all of the insects. There was nothing at the side of Resolve to stop that. Resolve do have tools, or I should say Wildcard have tools to shut that down out of Fnatic this game with the likes of the gold card, the likes of Daption playing Leona. So might be a challenge, but that said, Resolve, they do survive the first third eye from Twisted Fate, as no gate is pulled.
Stay woke.
Yeah.
Third eye open. Bradley.
They tried it. Resolve, they whipped it. Uh-oh.
Fnatic up front, meaning I don't have time to analyze what Cubby just said. Winston will back away, and there's the Mega Inferno Bomb. They find Winston.
Wait.
Massive damage from APA. And what is this? Winter flashes in. Fnatic jumps to him. Daption's on the run. He's going to get stunned, but he's able to flash away before it happens.
Arrow.
And now Arrow finds the turn. One kill to him. Array chasing him down. Flash over the wall. Arrow in huge trouble. He won't find a second kill. Instead, it goes to Bradley. 2-for-1 trading, still for Resolve. Bradley finds APA and runs back towards mid. Resolve come out with a win in the bottom lane.
And the initial play, the reason I get excited, it's a really cool mechanic from APA using Flash. He actually preemptively flashes the Crescent Guard from Xin Zhao, so he is in range to have the damage connect on the ultimate, so Winston can't save himself, and from their Resolve, they try and take this advantage, push it really hard, as good play from APA, understanding the fact that, you know, I can take down Xin Zhao this way. Now the play extends, and props to Arrow, who does a brilliant job here in a 2v4, finding one, trying to get out.
And it does get him that kill conversion on his stacks, which is very important for Arrow. And he just barely doesn't get the second. Bradley claims credit for it, so Bradley's going to be doing pretty well, but a necessary infusion of gold for Resolve, a necessary infusion of gold into where they want it, Array and APA.
They still find themselves down 1k gold, though, and Bradley has Flash back up, and we see the fact that Winston, with this big jungle lead that he's been able to get, is now on the Rift Herald solo. Very important for Twisted Fate teams, as taking down that first side lane can be deadly. You also deny it from a Ziggs team, which is always nice as well. The Satchel Charge, get about 3.5 points out of that. It's not bad. So, still post-play, I like the fact that Resolve, we wanted to see them have a leg to stand on early, try and go for some more proactive plays, but the post plays from all this, Wildcard Red are getting the best of it.
Both mid laners staring each other down. The Daption on the other end of it, Hex flashing over the wall to join Arrow on a flank. And APA recalling after engaging in that stare down.
Yeah, they were trying to see if APA would greed for a plate, but he's a little bit wiser to it. Not going to fall victim to Bradley's port as Arrow. This is a nice way to get some stacks. Oh, he takes it. Hit the small one? Oh, yeah.
He does! Cubby!
By the rocks.
Mechanics!
Just trying to stack up those axes as fast as possible. Of course, the new execute live, or on the live patch, not on this patch. A little bit of a bummer. I think it's a really cool mechanic that they added into Draven, but Arrow's going to have to do what he can on the last buff Draven. Looks like going for the shield bow first.
Oh my god, that's so last patch.
Oh, get me up.
I watched Cubby's face go through like all 3 stages of grief there.
That said, we do have Winston still sitting on Herald. Gonna have to see if he uses that to potentially attack Ziggs in the mid lane. As once again, Resolve is taking a mid laner. It's very difficult to break mid. And that will be a challenge for Wildcard, but Wildcard should be able to attack the sides. And right now, we're seeing Resolve off the reset adaptation potentially try and start this dragon, take it for themselves. It would be a nice small consolation prize early.
Brandini versus PCL up top, as the dragon is positioning for. Those players do have TP up and available. So this fight you're seeing in the top lane.
PCL. He's got the wave pushing out. They don't see Bradley at the moment. He has port up. They're taking dragon. I know that we said earlier that Resolve, they usually have PCL on an island. They can play towards him with resources, but usually he's kind of left to his lonesome. And this is an example of having Jace up there. It's oftentimes you play towards a Jace. Jace can be left weak side at times, next to popular review from the community. But he is having a tough time as, oh boy, here comes the port probably.
Yeah, Brandini in.
Yep.
The eye is open. PCL maybe just dies to Brandini here. The
canceled it.
teleport actually was interrupted. Bradley shut down by Fnatic and APA, who just find him, isolate him, and stop him from TPing, saving PCL's life, and he'll drop the thumbs up. Meantime, Array's caught out, does cleanse the stun.
He still loses the flash and the wave, but now, Brandini.
Oh!
Ziggs bomb. Look at that, Resolve supporting PCL. They were able to get him back, as I want to see a replay of how they canceled that TF ult, because that's a really smart play coming out from both Fnatic and APA, and this is a matchup that really no other mid laner plays besides APA, but he plays it so well. Now, of course, we talked about the post plays. Resolve, they get the kill. It deterred a lot of the damage that could have been dealt in terms of champions, but the objective at Rift Herald still cashes out for Wildcard Red, and taking that mid sword against Ziggs is very important.
That's the most I've ever seen a top laner.
Wait, what? He sniped him. He ulted.
That's incredible.
Oh my goodness. Alright, well, this game's gotten crazy.
PCL dying in the midst of all of this. From across the map, Arrow finds the kill with the ult.
He didn't even have the third eye to buff him up. He just guessed it. He's that good. Here we go.
Very much, Producer Pine, for the replay here. Our production team killing it. What is that?
That's
Is he on a ward? He's not on a ward. He's just recalling, and he guesses the positioning perfectly.
A snipe from Arrow. Not bad.
I'm struggling, Covey. That might be the most remarkable thing I've ever seen a Draven do. But it is also a Draven player. Winter backing away. Him and Fnatic trying to stay alive down bottom as Array backs from the turret. Wildcard can't overextend into Array or this still very healthy bot lane turret.
And Wildcard, just off the back of these plays from Resolve, keep on finding something. Whether it's killing a wave off, whether it's getting a snipe, right? Whether it's taking a mid-lane turret. The way that they're playing out this map is just getting the best of Resolve, who are throwing a lot more punches at them early, but it's just not enough to topple Wildcard, as they still are the kings of amateur, the ones with all the trophies in their trophy case, and are looking to take that through Proving Grounds, as this has been a very competitive game out of Resolve. A lot of plays have been attempted from them, especially Fnatic and APA, something we really wanted to see out of them, but it just hasn't been enough. Wildcard, they're too good, man.
We'll see if Resolve can do anything out of this press as they shove into Bradley down in the bottom lane. I don't want to write this game off yet, because we do still have some banger team fights coming up. Arrow, a key part of them, will engage here onto PCL, and PCL's just gone. So that's a worrying sign, is what I was going to say next. Wildcard will be threatened on the opposite side of the map as Fnatic steps up versus Winston and forces the ult. Array now free to throw in damage from range, but is going to be pressed against by Bradley, who's just trying for damage against Array. Chain of Corruption does land onto Bradley underneath the turret. Fnatic goes in and finds the kill, but Brandini gets the trade, with Winston getting the kill into Fnatic and Winston going down. It's 2 for 1 right now, but Brandini looks to change that and just gets popped by APA.
The Ziggs is big, and for the first time, Resolve finds a response with Arrow. 1v3?
You can one-shot so many of these people.
No.
And he's just getting zoned away. APA keeping him at a distance. 8 feet, it's mandatory. An Arrow just has to stay. He can't do anything. Very well played by Resolve.
Whirling Axes not going to be enough, as APA is able to zone him out. Daption, though, trying to cancel a recall, keep him around. Arrow doesn't have his ult up for a while, but does have flash shoots, looking feisty. Looks like we're going to get a replay instead. It won't be the case. Fnatic gives his life for this, TJ, but it's well worth it for the side of Resolve, as Brandini on the post-play response. APA plays this beautifully. He gets both people in the center of his ultimate, getting that extra damage boost, and then Winter, all he has to do is just auto Brandini. Look at that satchel charge, though. Keeps Winter alive, knocks Brandini back into APA, and then he's able to find the damage to take down the Croc. And now find the damage to take down the top lane turret, as Resolve has found some footing in this game, TJ. This one's not over yet. They take the objective. They trade out the Dragon. They're also going to take the second Rift Herald for themselves, but they can use the try and break that middle turret.
It's also incredible that we came out of that replay with APA in the bottom lane, and then he's just in the top lane. I also think that's wild. But APA coming alive here and keeping Resolve alive, getting some badly needed gold into Array's pocket. He is most of the way towards that Muramana now, which you do need to keep your eye upon. APA about to hit a pretty major power spike, does have the BM book open, and it's 6 stacks. Things are looking up for Resolve.
Because this game has been so active, though, we have a couple weird things going on in this one. One, Arrow's really fed on this Draven.
Yeah.
That's 3 kills that are Draven-infused kills with extra gold, right? But it is tough for Draven to function into this poke comp. Draven doesn't have the most range in the game, and if Ziggs, if Array, if PCL, if Winter, if they're able to keep this Draven at a distance, they could try and, win the war of attrition and poke him out. The game breaker to that, though, is going to be Bradley. He has rapid fire cannon finish on this Twisted Fate, extra range on those gold cards, and if Wildcard are able to find gold cards on the right members, make these fights one by one where they can isolate targets and take advantage of the Whirling Axe buff damage, things could get tough for Resolve. So, gonna have to see if which team can kind of play out their composition better, as shouldn't have any action on the map here. No monster objectives up until
Down
Baron.
bottom, PCL isolated here.
Oh, here we go.
He's got Daption around him. Bradley's teleporting into this with the Destiny's Gate. Bradley unable to connect as PCL with some fancy footwork just slips up into the river.
Does burn Flash, and that's 5 members of Resolve group. So that means that Franzini gets to take that top lane turret for free, crashes that big wave, but now Resolve gonna crash this second Rift Herald into the turret. Should be theirs.
Oh. Rift Herald destroys the mid turret, and it will be decent infusion of gold and map control as the Chain of Corruption chases a flash out of Bradley. Winston, in the meantime, goes for a flanking play and gets cut off by PCL. And this is now very dangerous. Winston chunked down, burned down, he's gone. PCL finds the kill. Mega in front of him, tags Arrow
Ooh,
as the play goes in. Fnatic, that is excellent! He separates Arrow from the fight. Daption starts things off, though, setting it up for Brandini. Fnatic needs to split this back up, isolate Brandini, and he does so, forcing a flash away, and PCL will chase down the kill with the killing blow coming from Array as Resolve execute a perfect team fight. It's going to be a triple kill, a quadra kill to Array, and Resolve come alive 18 minutes into game.
Just like that, we've been so complimentary of Resolve's team fight. Their ability to find plays like this in the late game, and all it is one misstep from Winston, one Golden Foot Award to Fnatic, and Resolve turned the game back in their favor off of this kick, and a beautiful fight from them. Look at how they isolate these members, use all the poke they have on single targets to make this in advantage of their numbers the entire time. Flashing for TF, you trade out, but look at Winston, caught in between 5. Winter lands a beautiful ultimate here, and now Arrow, he's the next one. He gets poked out as Winter actually stops the ultimate, and Fnatic, oh boy, look at this. This is something of beauty. That wins the fight for Resolve. We talked about the difficulties that Arrow will find against all the range of Resolve. That's a good example of it right there as Fnatic from over the wall shuts him down. Resolve shuts down Wildcard, and all of a sudden, TJ, we have a close game that Resolve showing signs of life in this best of 3 as PCL gets out.
Survives. He's like chain-rooted, nailed to the floor, manages to survive. I just want to highlight from PCL as well, that little setup onto Winston was entirely planned. I didn't realize that. He wasn't running up the river. He was sitting in the pixel bush in the river, waiting for Winston to try and flank, waiting to execute that exact punish. We're going to be interrupted in our conversation by APA dueling Brandini. Double TPs are coming in. APA finds Brandini, but Arrow and Bradley are here, and they are, with the aid of Daption, able to shut down PCL, who teleported in. So it's APA v3 with reinforcements on the way. Good flash keeps him alive. Kaising, but in the wrong direction on the map. Winston's trying to flank. APA's got to make his way through this team. Instead, just to dump damage. Arrow will find the kill, but it's traded 1 for 1, and it's going to get better as a double, triple goes again to Array. And Resolve take 4 kills off of Wildcard.
And Array, the youngest player in this match, going up against an LCK champ, an LCS MVP. He's legendary. He has 9 kills on the scoreboard now, TJ, off the back of his team fighting as things are getting hectic. This is in Resolve's wheelhouse. This is why the 15 seed has so much respect from the teams in this tournament. It's their ability to do crazy plays like this and make it work. As APA, completely on the wrong side of the map, completely on the wrong side of this rift, he's able to buy enough time to stall this out, to find kills, and make it a positive play for Resolve as the reinforcements. He's just buying as much time as he can, and he does it successfully.
APA, just incredible decision-making throughout this fight again. You see him make the call, okay, I'm not going to survive, I'm just going to dump all of my kit onto Arrow and make sure we have a winning team fight after I die. And Array, you're talking him up, again, great positioning. This is 2 fights in a row that Array has just been able to sit behind his front line and dump out damage. And that is great team play, but great understanding of the team play by the AD carry.
And even with a cheaper build, even, you know, with 9 kills, he's just barely keeping up with Draven. But these kills, they have propelled, have accelerated Array ahead. Look at his inventory. He's sitting on 2 items and almost a completed Mirror Mana as well. That's going to complete in a wave or 2. Once that hits, Resolve is going to have so much poked for Wildcard Red to deal with. And it's really going to be in the hands of Bradley and Daption to make sure the engages they're taking are clean so they don't get poked out of these fights, because Resolve win the war of attrition hard.
Euramana? Muramana. Euramana?
Leona. I'm still stuck on that. If anyone...
That's a reference for those of you that listen to League Day.
Yeah, if anyone tuned in to the LCS audio-only broadcast, TJ really likes to pick on my pronunciation of things, as he is...
I'm not picking up, just delighted. Euramana is like new and exciting to me. I don't know if it's right or wrong, I'm just excited by it.
Sorry, I don't speak the proper British English that you do.
Huffy gets self-conscious. He's just sometimes I'm excited by something, and he's like, oh, I'm embarrassed.
I try and find reasoning. There's no reasoning. It's just TJ being TJ.
Say the name of Daption's champion.
Leona. You've turned me on that one.
The way you say it.
Oh,
come on.
Yeah, the one I said it before, it was Leona. Sometimes when things get sloppy, that's how we switch things up.
I don't think that's sloppy. I think that's exciting. That's dangerous, you know? Arrow clearing the mid wave as Wildcard do have to fight from behind now. Resolve hitting their late game stride at an even gold state.
Oh boy.
And Arrow just wanders through a bush, uncharacteristically sloppy, nearly pays for it, but Fnatic can't convert it.
I think Fnatic wanted Array to flash follow for the ultimate, but Array, knowing that Arrow has the summoners up, Resolve not being on the same page executing that play there, will lose a flash cooldown. As you can see, APA just throwing super mega inferno bombs at the side lanes, trying to fix them in Resolve's favor.
Field goal.
It is, the first NFL Sunday. I do appreciate that sports reference, TJ.
Is that...
Your 49ers did do some flopping on the big stage today.
Is a field goal the NFL?
Yeah. It's just football in general. All right. I'm going to return to the sport that TJ knows best, as I think we're going to have a play breaking out. Resolve looking to collapse on Brandini and Winston.
Flash for Winston will keep him ahead of Fnatic, but Fnatic can close that distance again. Glacial Fissure is denied. Great footwork from Winston, and he's able to get behind the turret, joined by Brandini. Are they safe? Not yet. Fnatic still going. Winter eating the turret shots. Array converts the kill. Winter survives.
Double-digit kills for Array now and Fnatic, always looking for more.
We're getting a little greedy. Arrow will chunk him out. There's APA and Array joining. Mega Inferno Bomb chunks them low. Don't think these kills are going to be chased down, but it's going to be another turret as a result of the low HP bars as Resolve accelerate towards a tie game here.
And Bradley is fixing that wave in the top side. He is recalling. That's going to prompt Resolve to respond as well. They don't want to get caught out by a Destiny's Gate and a port from Brandini. But once again, Resolve, they hold strong. Members in the side lane, they're now punishing Wildcard, who are overextending in the side lane. Something we saw Wildcard doing to Resolve in Game 1 with those champions. As Resolve are holding strong, they have footing in this game. And things are getting tough now for Wildcard, who we talked about their issues that they're going to have with range. Arrow's ability to function as this game goes on. If they can't single out targets one by one, we favor Resolve in the war of attrition, and they're finding fights to execute just that.
Ooh, that was satisfying from Array. Resolve...
He's very far ahead of the power curve.
Yeah. Resolve can just rely on that. I mean, he's 10-0-1, by the way.
And something I really like that Resolve's doing right now. You see with their poke composition, they're not trying to go for the side waves. This is on purpose as they want to hold this real estate. Make it impossible for Wildcard Red to walk through these chokes against a Ziggs, against a Varus, against a Jace. And so Wildcard, it'll be very difficult for them to contest this objective. They're going to have to give this one to the side as Bradley, possibly having other ideas, is looking for an angle.
Yeah, Bradley just countering Resolve by constantly being in those side lanes, leveraging the fact he has 2 teleports to just threaten the shove at all times. Wildcard want to extend this fight, sprawl this fight across as much of the map as possible to force Resolve to spread their own forces.
And you can see Wildcard there off screen. They were starting up the Baron. They almost have to do that, start the objectives just to try and bait Resolve into a fight, bait them to walk a little bit too close in the poke comp so they can get that 1-by-1 team fight. If not successful there, means a free dragon for Fnatic and Resolve.
They're a good day for Resolve. That's now their 3rd Drake. They're on Soul Point. It is the dreaded Cloud Rift, though, which means doesn't mean as much as it does on the other maps.
EJ's sad. That's what it means.
You know, I've been casting... I'm going to hold this thought. Bradley stepping forward. Oh, this is very terrifying for PCL. Oh, my lord! He almost turns that! Just jumps onto Bradley and gives me a heart attack. Bradley will survive.
And this is a Bradley special. This is something that Bradley does that no one else does, and that's the 3rd item Lichbane on Twisted Fate. Most people just default to Zanya's. Bradley, trusting in his playmaking ability, trusting his mechanics, going for that item instead, and it pays off there as he finds the 1v1 against PCL.
Fnatic steps up versus Arrow with a flash burn. He's got no way out of this. That's just a mistake. Arrow gets a free kill.
And Resolve coming apart at the seams a little bit here as Bradley, he did pop that Destiny's port to potentially threaten a collapse on Resolve, but Resolve respecting that will instead port bot. Another free turret going over to Wildcard is just when we saw Resolve getting ahead in the gold, getting ahead on the scoreboard. Wildcard, they take that lead right back, and now they have to keep on starting objectives. They have no port from Bradley, but they have started this Baron as APA was pulled bot. They get his teleport, and they stop it right away.
PCL threatened by Bradley underneath the turret, and these objectives that are being... Oh my god!
Yep. Bradley.
These objectives that are being threatened are really scary because Arrow just melts them. Arrow's so far ahead. Nicely done. APA.
What is going on?
Kicking another field goal for the mid lane.
What is going on this game, TJ?
I couldn't tell you, and it's my job. Baron does get cancelled by that, so Wildcard will back away. And Resolve have brought this game within 1. Oh yes, thank you very much, production. Show me what happened here.
APA, his TP was pulled because they started the Baron, and then he said, "You know what, my friend? I've got some revenge for you.
Kobe.
Here's a bomb." Boom.
Oh, he is so close.
Oh, look at that hat fall. That was depressing. He lost the hat. You can never lose your hat in a Western. That's like rule number 1.
That's true, Kobe.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've been watching the Clint Eastwood classics. What's your favorite Western?
He's coming out with a new movie. The Kurt Russell Tombstone. It's a great one.
Good. That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Send us reviews of Kurt Russell's Tombstone. Using the hashtag Proving Grounds? I don't know how to practice on this on Twitter.
I think we just need a dragon to spawn or for them to start Baron again, which it looks like they might have. As Arrow is hitting the Baron right now.
Yeah, and again, it's so scary because Arrow, like, probably can't solo the Baron, but it's pretty close. And Resolve just always have to pay attention to that, have to be dragged a little bit towards that.
Resolve holding strong, staying steady. They're going for this. It is Brandini with no TP, Bradley with no TP. They want them to base. They're going to take this.
Burned down. That turret's gone. Wildcard, in turn, disrespect Resolve's clear. And that's the inhibitor gone. And the 2 side lane players are still in the side lane. PCL's just shoving in. Double TP. Oh, this is a very weird TP. Oh no, PCL! He means to flash. And he gets caught out. He presses the wrong summoner spell. Arrow goes down in the meantime. But PCL gives away his life with just a little bit of fat fingering. And now this is dangerous. Can Resolve get away? APA threatened now. Double dive. Bradley into the backlines. He'll clean up the fight. Gold card onto APA, who dies. Winston into stasis. It's just Fnatic left on the map. That is tragic.
They're pinging bot. Bradley has TP coming up off cooldown of PCL. He was TPing to keep that minion alive. He was doing it because they were going to try and end the game right there. They thought they had the recalls. They thought they had the damage with Ziggs and Varus in time, but it doesn't look like it. Instead, they lose the bot inhibitor turret. Bradley goes back to base, saves the game for Wildcard Red, and this should be a free Baron for them now, and you can see Resolve. They're pinging that turret. Maybe they're going to try and go for some sort of TP play, but this is Baron going over to Wildcard Red.
Okay, so to clarify, it wasn't a mistake as I thought. It was to keep that minion alive.
Needed to keep the minion alive.
Okay, I feel great. I'm glad that PCL did not have a tragedy occur this family.
Was it the right decision? I don't know, but that was the thought process.
Okay, as long as it was intentional, I feel better for PCL.
No. But that's a huge swing and turn of events for Wildcard Red, because not only do they get the Baron, but now, do we see a fight break out around this Cloud Dragon? If Resolve lose this could be game. But they might be going for it. They might be going for the Cloud Soul. Resolve, they play without fear. What they're known for, it looks like they're going to try and use their poke to contest this.
PCL playing safe here around this dragon, trying to get as far back from this fight as possible. Mega Inferno Bomb comes up dry.
He gets it back.
Here's the vision. The Mega Inferno Bomb is refilling. It's about a quarter reset right now.
Oh, Bradley's behind.
Good TP. Oh, he almost finds the kill just with that. Array's down to quarter his HP, and he's going to be shut down by the ult from Arrow. APA kiting through the bush. He's able to stay alive and turn the tables. PCL and Fnatic hold at the tri-bush. 2 for 1. Positive trading for Resolve, but low HP bars. They're going to need to take this very carefully. Bradley and the rest of Wildcard take their time here, clearing out the waves.
Oh, they're sticking around.
As they do lose the fight.
PCL bases to play defense as... Alright, here we go. Second look. So this is the last minion alive. This TP, I think, is on purpose. He's trying to keep it alive. That last tower shot would have killed it. We don't see that in the replay. But Winston, on the back end of this fight, he does so much work with Brandini that they were able to not only take down PCL, but now APA also gets routed as they are not fighting front to back with the Ziggs. They found the angles, and then Bradley, he's been so big on this Twisted Fate. Who needs Zanyas? You have Witchbane and Deathcap. You can just start one-shotting people as he doesn't even go for APA. Winston's like, I got this, buddy. Move on to everyone else, and even goes Goldman to save himself from dying to that Sonic Wave execute. Because that's the play that made sure that Wildcard got that Baron and took back this gold lead in a back-and-forth bout as Resolve throwing the kitchen sink at Wildcard Red, trying to keep their upper bracket hopes alive.
They do still have the advantage in terms of super minions. There's only one broken inhibitor on the map, and it is in that mid lane, so Resolve do have a constant wave shove. But as we kind of outlined, for the same reasons we outlined earlier, it's very difficult for Resolve to play through the sidelines here.
Twisted Fate, especially now that he has that stopwatch, is too much to deal with. He is easy to zone out, in the 5v5s, but Rapid Fire Cannon, Witchbane, the angles that Bradley's taking, the angles that Bradley is finding is breaking this poke comp of Resolve. They aren't getting time to set up. And I want to see if he's going to go for another risky port again behind Resolve, because it feels like that's the big difference for Wildcard in these fights, is when Bradley's able to find isolate targets, and he's just one-shotting them now with the damage that he has and the CC chain he has with the Everfrost.
PCL stepping up alongside Array. We're going to force Wildcard back behind this turret. But as we were talking about, a little difficult for them to shove in this side lane whilst the mid lane's just getting pushed in by Bradley. Chain corruption does land. Winston able to walk away from it. There's the threat as a result of it onto the turret itself. This siege not going great though. Solar Flare burn to stop it.
And Bradley with the Witchbane, this turret will fall instantaneously.
Wow.
As this Twisted Fate, he's putting so much pressure on Resolve, who burned a lot on that turret, and they're canceling their recalls. They're still trying to go. We could have a base race here, TJ.
Bradley stepping up. I know who's going to win. Bradley absolutely obliterating this inhibitor turret. It's a 5v4 down in the bottom lane. The shove will come up. 2 inhibitors now breaking simultaneously in mid, and that will prompt a TP. Inhibitor breaks, inhibitors traded.
Bradley doesn't have the gate to attack Resolve afterwards, but honestly, Resolve, once that Baron spawns, that bot inhibitor that is trading up for him, not the worst in the world is Winston.
Winston into stasis. He's going to be slowed out the other end and shut down by the Mega Inferno Bomb. And that's a jungler off the map.
The damage from APA's Ziggs is crazy as Winston melts, and now PCL, they're TPing, they're grouping up, they're trying to end the game now.
Bradley's got to be very aware of that wave that is shoving down mid. We'll see if they can do anything with it.
APA is going to base and TP back. He's got to buy stopwatches, as everyone on Resolve actually does have a stopwatch that does buy you one gold card that you can dodge out on. As this is going to be Resolve trying to end the game, trying to take this win and extend this series versus Wildcard.
Here come Resolve for the game. Stepping up, double rooted. Not the greatest start. Wave is cleared by Arrow, who is still gigantic. APA threatening with his siege potential, but the Mega Inferno Bomb doesn't find anything. Fnatic jumps in, focusing Arrow. Arrow survives, and Fnatic is forced into stasis behind the sole surviving Nexus turret. He's gone. Resolve needs to kite away, but they're just taking chip. APA burned alive. Here's the TP. Bradley in the back line.
Oh my gosh.
Will stasis pop the B mode. He's done it. Array's in trouble as well. And Brad Diddy, during this time, shoves in the wave. He's going to take the game. There's nothing Resolve could do. Wildcard close this series 2-0.
It was a close effort from Resolve, but in the end, Wildcard, they're the ones that have the resolve and hold strong. And that 5-6-7 scoreline may not be the prettiest thing in the picture, but man, was it impressive.
Can you save this PCL? Oh, they might be able to! Brandini in trouble.
No
Low
way.
HP. Here comes Arrow. If he could just auto the Nexus, he could do this. Arrow for the Nexus. Into stasis. He's done it.
Flash the KT roster signs, baby. That's another win for Wildcard Red as, oh, what a game that was, TJ, as 2 kills a minute, pretty much. Action everywhere. Ports everywhere. Backdoors, everything. That's what we need in League of Legends. Just more action like that, but in the end, it is Wildcard Red coming out on top, and so much credit does have to go to Bradley in this game, TJ. As this Twisted Fate, him going damage instead of opting for that Zanya's, really feels like it was the big difference maker at the later stages of this one, as he was able to break the poke comp from Wildcard, or Resolve, break Resolve in the end, and give Wildcard that 2-0.
What an incredible performance from Resolve, and Wildcard are just able to match them every step of the way. These are, without a doubt, 2 of the strongest teams in this tournament, and this game should have proven that.
Oh boy, that was. I can't believe we're going through all these replays. I even forgot APA's flash to make sure the damage connected there on the Ziggs ult. As
play after play, this was
just the beginning.
This was one of the most mechanically impressive games of League of Legends I've ever covered.
It's just back and forth everywhere, and Resolve, they can't really go for Baron with their team comp, so I get trying to break it with a Siege, but they never had the ability to deal with Bradley. Those gold cards as the game went on were just way too threatening. Lee Sin couldn't engage. They couldn't ever connect the poke on him. He had a bunch of move speed from the Cloud Rift, and also the fact that he went Lich Bane and Rapid Fire Cannon. As, Arrow snipe from downtown.
I'm still not over that.
I'm not over half this game, man. What a way to start the day. We have a second series after this, by the way, TJ.
We do. Yeah. We're going to move on to TSM Academy versus Golden Guardians Academy. The lower bracket match. But I promise it will still deliver. Winter. Oh my lord. Just everything about this series, because Winter survives this fight on 1 HP with one of the most calculated escapes I've ever seen. Just nuts.
And, I mean, even this one, APA is on the wrong side of the map. He's PCL, TP, and PCL goes, get down, Mr. President, as he eats the Leona ult and just ends up getting one shot here. And gets PCL. APA out and buys enough time to change the game.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Thank you for the TP. Thank you for going down instead of me. We're good to go. Move on.
I mean, we're memeing it a little bit, but that's actually really good, selfless team play to be hey, it's really important APA survives this.
You think that was the comms? Hey, can you TP in here and die for me?
Would you
need the Ziggs
damage. TP in here and just eat an entire combo of all of their ults so we can win the fight? Oh man. And honestly, yeah, it's the right play. Really impressive stuff. APA just dominated this game. It's a tragedy we don't see a game 3 of this series.
Yeah, that was a fun game too.
With the hat. Rough times.
And props to Resolve. We're going to see them again in the tournament. They do drop to the lower bracket, but man, going for these plays, it was a little bit crazy, a little bit too much in the end, but I mean, props to Resolve, right? They're an amateur team. They're not here to screw around. I know that game 1, they were playing cautiously, but this is the flip side of Resolve, and why they're a team that's so respected in the tournament is that we get the look out of them that we did in game 1, where they pick scaling. They go for late game, and now game 2, we get a different look where they're going for poke, they're trying to rival plays early, and they ended up creating a hectic map state that they won a lot of plays on. Just wasn't enough in the end versus Wildcard Red, as the Kings of Amateur still reign supreme, end up taking that one, and man, we didn't get to see the base race at the end. That was nuts.
Yeah, I'm just overwhelmed by the density of good play from that game. We were having a conversation in the first segment of this broadcast about how these amateur teams, it would be wacky to predict one of them to win this tournament. I think we're thoroughly living in that world. You can just see the depth of talent on display here.
And like I said, the expectation for Wildcard Red is the top 4, right? And they're trying to do what NoOrg did last split, which is win the entire damn thing. And for Wildcard, it's another step in the right direction, another step towards this team's redemption arc in amateur, proving that they still are top of the table players that deserve to have shots at Academy or LCS, whether that's returning to that space or entering it for the first time. Thinking of players like Bradley and Daption, I think have really been stepping up throughout this entire tournament so far. Players that haven't yet been able to hold the mantle of that stage. So definitely a fun amateur team to watch, and excited to get to see a lot more of them, but also hope we'll get to talk to one of them here pretty soon.
Yeah, going into the lower bracket, though, Resolve kind of... I don't want to say it was a shock defeat, because a lot of people favored Wildcard, but especially with how close this match is, it's a kind of heartbreaking defeat. They still have a shot. Can I get the Coach Covey, the analyst Covey prediction as to how deep Resolve goes down there in the lower bracket?
Depends on matchups. I think that the unique part about Resolve this time around is that they have shown different looks. And I think in a tournament like this, it's actually really valuable, as a lot of these teams have singular playstyles they've gotten really good at and can play around, but can't switch it up. And while Resolve did drop 2-0, I think that we still have seen good moments from them picking scaling, them picking poke. I like the fact that we're willing to take PCL's Jace into the Renekton. Matchup went all right until Bradley kind of broke it with that TF. But they're a team that, I mean, when you talk around with like a lot of the coachings and the coaching staff like in this tournament, they have nothing but respect for Resolve. And it's for the reason that they are willing to throw down the gauntlet even on stage games. Taking something like Ziggs mid in the Twisted Fate, going for those backdoor plays, like knowing it's their best chance to win the game. It may look bad like when it doesn't work out, but they're willing to go for it. They're the ones that are willing to make the plays, and when it does work out, it's the magic behind this team, and the reason they're an exciting team to watch, and a reason they're respected by a lot of the other teams in this tournament.
We will hopefully get to see more of Resolve, but in the meantime, let's see a little bit more of Wildcard, as we do have Winston on the line. How are you doing, Winston, off of a hair-raising game 2?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're overwhelmed. I just want...
Still trying to recover from that last one, man.
Yeah.
Can you talk through for us just the end of that game, the entire sequence, what's going on in your team comms? When do you guys realize you have it?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously with how they drafted their comp, they, sorry, they obviously completely outrange us. So, you started to see at the end that they started to overgroup. They weren't really playing the map. They weren't playing multiple lanes and just trying to brute force their way to a victory. And pretty much with that, in the comms, we were super composed. We knew what waves we could play when we needed to get players back and, force them to react to what we were doing. And then at the end, obviously, they overloaded bot. We noticed how, we tried to overchase in the jungle. I got caught, haven't played against Ziggs in a while, so I guess there's a lot of that the entire game. But yeah, they were chased. Then they looked for the end. Varus was and we knew they didn't have the resources to actually look for the end. So we knew at that point when they were really desperate that, we would be able to slow chase with, TFRC, all that. And then, yeah, obviously Brittany TP, Jace got a couple kills. It looked hairy for a bit, but we were able to get the win. But overall, I think we were pretty composed. We all had the situation under control, which is, you don't run into those situations a lot. So it's pretty, impressive. And I'm proud of all my teammates that we were able to stay, lock down to that situation and come up with the win.
I'm rather impressed that you say that you and your squad was composed because we were in the caster deck. It was all hell breaking out loose across.
Yeah.
As Resolve was trying to brute force their way to an end, you guys ended up overcoming them with 2-0. I do want to ask you though, Winston. I know that unfortunately, last split, you didn't get the chance to compete in Proving Grounds despite having been able to qualify. And now you come back on the community perspective is unanimously the top amateur team that's in this tournament. What's this journey been like for you, and what's it like, playing with this squad of 5 in Proving Grounds and really putting your best foot forward?
Yeah. At least for my journey, I mean, I kind of have talked to different people about this, and I think it was when, I mean, obviously I've gotten slim opportunities, and I played with really good players throughout my career, especially like early on in my career with TSM and then SF with all those vets and all that, and I was able to learn a lot. Except the more I started to kind of reflect and kind of in this newer situation that I'm in with more fresh faces in Dabshin, Bradley, then also having some vets that can steer some things like Brandon Nero that uh, I've been able to like really. It's kind of interesting because you'd think that when you play with more experienced, smarter players, people that have accomplished so much, that they would be able to lead you in the right direction, teach you the things in order to make you as best of a player as you can be. But I kind of find that the more that I started being able to take control of what I want to do and kind of just learning for myself and then dictating the game by my own pace and not having kind of others steer me in direction, mind control me to do different things. That in terms of the improvement, the overall gameplay, like I really have a strong understanding for how I go into every game, how how everything's going to play out. And you saw like in the early games of these two games, like even in this last game, how obviously it didn't. I wasn't able to make much of an impact, but early on I had a 2-level lead. I was able to get adoption in the right places at the right time to get that lead over Fnatic early. So I mean, in terms of my individual gameplay and how I'm able to communicate with my teammates and how we're able to progress the game, I feel a lot more confident, especially at this stage of my career, which is as I was saying, ironic because I'm in fresher environment, not having obviously as much experience to kind of guide me. But sometimes I think players, I mean, different players learn differently, and I think some players, especially me, was an example of one of those players who kind of needed to get out of the lashes and be able to play their own game. And I think that's why I'm thriving right now.
I know a lot of people talk about how much easier it is to learn kind of by teaching, by taking a leadership role in something and explaining what you want to do to others. What's that been like on the team? How's your communication? How are you building your game plans as a roster coming into games?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in terms of, just going into the game, I think we have a strong game plan of how we want to attack every other team. I mean, I know we play 100 in Academy next, and I have a lot of friends over there in Puma. We know how we're already going to beat them, so we're looking at the next one. But in terms of kind of how we go into matches and just learn different things, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different. We've kind of gone to that point, like as a team, where transparency, where emotions don't really kind of affect, and everyone knows that what we're saying is coming from like righteous place. Everyone wants the best for the team, so when those tough talks have to happen, when things need to change in order to get on the same page, we're kind of at that point as a team that we're kind of able to embrace that, and that's why we've seen, like, for example, like me and Daption, I think that uh, we've really gone on the same page, and I've gotten him to really see how how we progress these games, how it's strong, how we can take over the map as as a duo, getting Bradley involved in those different teaching aspects, and it's really cool because like obviously I think Daption said this multiple times, but Arrow's really helped him in terms of his laning phase, what he needs to accomplish outside of lane, different matchups, and I think that Brandini being a strong voice, always reassuring Bradley of what he's doing in the game. It's kind of just how this roster kind of functions. Is just it's been really good, and hopefully you'll be able to see that going forward in the future matches.
We already.
I was going to say, if you're teasing more, we've already seen quite a bit. So I'm excited for that. I also like how you snuck in. Like, we already have a plan to beat 100A, in passing. That was
yeah.
Cool. So I can't wait to try and see that on stage. We do have to let you go, but I do want to give you one last opportunity to give any thank yous or shout outs or possibly birthday shout outs from people on your team.
Yeah, so I mean, I with the birthday shout out, obviously it's our coach's birthday, so obviously big birthday to him. Also, it's both my dad and my mom's birthday, like in this stretch of a week. So, happy birthday to them. And
party.
I mean, yeah. With that, also my brother just moved to uni. He's been with us this entire time. So it's my life is kind of going through all these different things, and I'm just thankful I'm able to have a good supporting cast, behind the scenes, not a problem with like with my family and just my teammates who are super supportive and all really want to do well in this tournament. And because have the title of a semi-pro team, that's not going to stop us from, putting a show to these academy teams. So 100 academies next up, and I hope they come prepared.
I like it. Confident words, a confident interview, and a confident game. Thank you very much, Winston. We're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back with our next game tonight. CSM Academy taking on Golden Guardians.